What is going on, you guys? And welcome back to the channel. Today we're covering some more of the rumored rosters, and as well as a little bit of speculation as to the rest of the teams by my deductive reasoning and process of elimination. Yes, I am a genius. The cool thing about being able to make these kinds of videos is I've done my best to stay out of the loop so I can get the news as the same time that you guys do. That way I'm not like making videos trying to like come up with storylines to spin rosters. I've done my best to avoid leaks from the pro community and kept myself out of the loop as much as possible to be able to give you guys at least genuine content. So today we're going to go over the rumored Minnesota, LAG, potential FaZe, and Boston rosters. We're going to start with Minnesota because I think that this roster kind of eliminates a lot of possibilities for FaZe. So the rumored Minnesota roster is Attach, Cammy, Bance, and Afro. Now, Attach and Cammy were two prime candidates to attempt to join FaZe right after they dropped Arcades. So the fact that these two are rumored to be teaming together means that FaZe's options are starting to dwindle a little bit. If you guys saw or followed Crone on Twitter, he tweeted essentially that FaZe is going after whoever they want, regardless of number or if they're a free agent or not. You know, it's when that team of three wants someone, they're going to do what they can to try to get them. So this roster is interesting, like I said, because Cammy and Attach are two top candidates for their fourth spot. So the fact that they're teaming together means that FaZe's options are starting to dwindle a little bit. As for the actual roster itself, I do like that Dylan is switching to a main AR. I think that's something that a lot of people really wanted throughout the last couple of years of his career. I think Dylan on main, it just makes the most sense. I think he's more of a main AR than he was a sub player the last couple of years. He's been putting up insane numbers with an AR over the last couple of years as well. So I'm happy to see him embrace the switch and go to a main. Cammy, obviously a potential top 5, top 3 player in the game. We saw that in Cold War. I mentioned it in a previous video. He had a down Vanguard season, but I think in terms of like skill ceiling, he's without a doubt in the top 10 in the league. I think Cammy's absolutely insane. Same goes for Afro. I think Afro started to tail off slightly towards the end of the year, like Major 4 champs area of Vanguard, but I think that like he had an incredible season. When you watch London's games, he was like actually 1v4ing most of the time. I think that guy's potential top 5 sub in the game. I think Afro skill ceiling is like absolutely nuts. And then Bance, I think they're bringing in Bance for a little bit of polarity when it comes to the comms as well as play style. I think Ben is much more ratty than Afro. I think he'll be able to reel him in a little bit better. Ben is not like the hill bash, get in your face. He's much more like pick a rat corner, make a great play in rotation kind of sub. So I enjoy the dynamic of the roster. I think this is a very well constructed roster, and potentially this is the best roster that Minnesota has fielded in the CDL era. So hats off to Brian, Sate, and Dan if this was their idea. I think they absolutely killed it. This team has potential to be absolutely nuts. Big fan. Moving into the rumored LAG roster. Now this is basically just a 1-for-1. So Arcades for Slasher is the rumor right now. So the team would be Arcades, Neptune, Spart, and Hook. I'm not sure how I feel about this team. I don't think they had enough time to really mesh super well towards the tail end of the season. They made a super late roster change with Nep. So I think that it was very hard to judge their skill as a trio. I do know they play a lot of COD outside of like team scrims and stuff, like Nep and Spart, and as well as Kyler. They're always playing like S&D chals and tournaments and stuff. So they enjoy playing the game together. That's a good starting point. I think the skill ceiling is also there. Spart was a Major 2 MVP. Granted, it had the Vulcan in his hands, but you don't win MVP strictly because of a gun. So I think the S&D prowess on this team is definitely there. I think Alec basically replaces Austin's leadership role very well. I think that he'll slot in super well. In terms of skill, I think it is a pretty lateral move as well. So I'm not sure. I think this team is really going to come down to like the actual dynamic and the chemistry of the roster. Austin is a much different player than Alec is in terms of leadership style and how he like carries himself. So maybe that's like the only like drastic change I could see with the roster, because like I said, in terms of skill and what they bring to the team, I think it's pretty similar. Very good proficient S&D players, very good leaders. So I think that like it's kind of a 1-for-1. The only thing again that is going to end up changing here is the leadership style, in my opinion. But I'm excited to see how they do. I think having the beginning of the season to mesh well, it's kind of a similar situation. I would compare it to Zach or Draza. He was kind of getting slotted in here and there throughout the last 2 years, and then he finally got a full year under his belt and he was much more comfortable. Granted, I'm a little biased, but I think again, if these guys get a full year under their belts or even a couple of months, I think the skill ceiling is super high so far. Big fans of the Minnesota roster, decent fan of the LAG roster. I'm not quite sure what to expect from those guys, but so far we're looking good. And then moving into the last rumor I wanted to touch on, well, there's two more. The Boston roster. Now, right now they are a team of 3 looking for, I guess, a main AR. Right now the roster is Awakening, Vivid, and Nero. It's basically just like a Florida run back. And I was talking on stream the other day that apparently Zinni is still on the team. There's no news from Zin, whether he's been a restricted free agent or if he's been replaced or anything like that. So I do think that Wake is a upgrade from TJ in terms of skill. It's no offense to TJ, but I think that Wake has kind of been put into a weird spot over the last couple of seasons. He's been tweeting he's like forced to run in a sub and like he doesn't want to do that. Now he gets to run flex, assuming that he's not running main, because like I said, this is a rumored team of 3. The 4th hasn't been mentioned yet, and the main AR slot is open as of this moment. So I think Wake getting back into a spot where he wants to be is definitely number 1. He has been touted as like a kill horse style player in the past, but I think it's very hard to differentiate between kill whore and like kind of just playing well if you're losing. I think that's something the community is like, it's very hard to differentiate between. That's all I'll say. So the fact that he can kill whore and can put up those numbers is promising. I always think that like that's in the back of my head when I watch players like that. That's how I felt on Seattle. Like I'm sure that's how Temp felt on Paris. It's like the ability to put up those numbers is promising. So if he was put into a situation where he didn't need to, and he had teammates around him that could, you know, help his play style out a little bit, I think a player like Wake can definitely flourish. So putting him on a role that he is comfortable with, I think could be amazing. Again, I was talking on stream the other night. I want, like, strictly for the culture, I want them to get Caesar as their main AR, so they have the Florida run back like in Boston with Nero instead. And I think that I mentioned it in one of my previous videos. I'm a big fan of the Vivid and Nero sub duo. So I think that'd be cool if they tried to get Caesar. Like I said, I don't know if Zinni's on the team yet. There hasn't been any leaks or anything like that. So as of this moment in Zinni, I don't hate the team. I'm a pretty big fan. Like I said, great sub duo to build off of. I think they work super well together. Wake's skill ceiling is like you guys have known since they joined the league. He's insane. And then, you know, Zinni or Caesar or whoever they end up getting. So these are all decent teams. I'm not going to lie. I don't hate any of these rosters. I look at these teams on paper and they seem very well constructed for the most part. So I'm excited to see it next season, man. It's going to be good. And then the last thing that I wanted to touch on was the rumored FaZe 4th. And again, Crone tweeted that they're kind of just going after anyone. So it's kind of hard to like narrow the field down. But social media's sentiment has seemed to be like Slasher, Sib, Pred, Hydra. I am very curious who they end up getting, because it seems like they're just like throwing the reel out there to see who they can get. I think a lot of people were thinking Slasher because Arcides took his spot on LAG. Austin is a phenomenal mid AR player. You know, obviously I touched on Austin early in the video, so I don't need to. But here, I think he replaces Alex super well in that FaZe roster. His leadership style is a little bit different. I'm not sure how Tyler Beasy is going to handle that if it's the case. They could go after Paco, have Simp run flex. That was something that a lot of people were against, just because Chris is like literally the best sub in the game. So I think people didn't want to have him switch to a flex when he's in the prime of his career playing as well as he has been, which I also agree with. I would like to echo that as well. I don't think him switching to a flex is just like an unnecessary change. And then you have like, again, that happens with Paco as well. Sib could come in and run flex. Cell could run main. A lot of people were talking about being bought out from Seattle. So I don't know. There's a lot of different possibilities here. Let me know in the comments what you guys would like to see. I think in terms of roster fluidity, I would like to see a flex and let Cell run main. I don't think that them bringing in a main and having MC on the flex is the right move. At least from his playstyle last season, it was very slow. I know at least playing against him and watching his arrow a lot last season, because obviously he's an MVP candidate and I wanted to see how he was playing. It just seemed a lot slower than I had like previously noticed, if that makes sense. So I think letting him run main and do what he wants to do and bringing in a flex player, I think is the best decision in my opinion. It's going to be very hard because the flex candidates with the Minnesota roster were Cammy and Attach, and they're both gone allegedly. So I'm curious. I'm curious what FaZe is going to do. I'm sure their decision will come in the next couple of days, and I'll make a video on it, obviously. But let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of the rumored rosters. I don't hate any of them, if I'm being honest with you. I think they're all very well constructed. I think Modern Warfare 2 is shaping up to be a really good competitive season, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you guys for watching, as always. Have a fantastic rest of your day.